Welcome, everyone. It's some new faces and some familiar faces. So who's first time to the Spenard Community Council? And who hasn't been in a while, but has been before? Great. Well, welcome to everyone. Thank you all for being here. My name is Jed Smith. I'm the Vice President of the Spenard Community Council, and with a few other members of our executive board. If you could all raise your hands and introduce yourself. So
Excuse me, Julie. Oh, Barbara, and she's, yeah, I'm gonna go. Julie, I'm the treasurer. Peggy, I'm an auditor. I'm Margaret, I'm the secretary.
All right. So we're on the executive board. So welcome again, everyone. Thank you all for being here. I would like to entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Great. Motion to approve the agenda. Any of those? Seeing none. Great. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda? The consent agenda is just basically it's the minutes and well, it's our agenda for the current meeting. But is there a motion to approve the minutes from the April meeting? Julie, is there a second?
Second.
Max, the second. Any discussion?
Yes.
I heard a yes. Were you here?
The discussion. Objection.
Or discussion about the minutes. Do you have any motion? We do.
Oh, I turned to so call her consent.
Okay, and we're back into approval of the minutes.
For clarification, the minutes were posted after they're approved.
Oh, thank you.
That's so
Thank you.
they will be posted.
It will be. So you.
Thank you. Okay, seeing none, the minutes are approved. So next on our agenda, we have an opportunity for community announcements. These are really short and quick announcements. If there's an activity going on in your neck of the woods, if you have a concern, or if you just want to give someone a kudos or announce an activity, an event going on around town, this is your opportunity to do so. Please keep it to 1 to 2 minutes. We'll open the floor to community announcements. Just go over. So that's right. Yeah.
And then we're
Please tell us your name.
from and then near Fish Creek, between Forest Road and Northwood Park, where there's a big and right next to that big empty lot that has had a lot of homeless encampments on it, but fire really close to my house, and a lot of gunshots going on there that forced me to have to move to a different side of my house, so I had to get shot through many times. Thankfully, the area was just a bigger for the little weeks. But now some people are still right next to the property, meaning for drug deals under the bridge that goes over, it's harder to bike trail that goes over State Creek. And I do have a concern about coming back or the street relocating to different areas and kind of get it longer than forward and still keep that area on the radar and moving on and that is fine. Way better, personally, but no, great.
My name is Francesca, and that's been abated. It's traveled, and now Yuri Park is on fire multiple times. And they're crossing the tracks in the Shelby end, and it's just the hellhole of the Cambridge. And I was wondering when this could actually get their business license revoked, or it is. People just walking in the street daily, drunk, high, I don't know what they're on, they're seeing. Things that they're talking to, fighting, you can walk down the street in your thong. And keep traffic going back and forth, a neighbor's baby was trying to be stolen recently, it's bad. It is really bad, so all those camps came towards Minnesota. Minnesota actively right now are multiple drug deals and people doing drugs. And I was told that you can do drugs openly. And that you don't get in trouble for that, you have to be caught before for possession. So being high and doing drugs is legal. And what are we supposed to do about that when people are walking into traffic? High. Well, my concern.
My name is Ollie. Hi, everyone. So I would like to reiterate how dangerous the Spenard, Minnesota area for Chelsea's, all that whole area in our neighborhood. I have a business there. I've been running since 1997, and it's just drowning in debauchery. And I have no idea what to do anymore. And if there's any insight or any steps that we might take, I know the Chelsean has been under Fed watch for a long time. Yeah, I don't know if he's just in the feds of, anytime I address bring up the Chelsean, and the cops tell me that the feds are on it, but it's been over a decade. And now I don't know how long I can keep my business going. We have a child. She cannot walk the streets of those streets. People are, it's a huge issue. I'm sure it has many, many layers, but at this point, we just want to save ourselves.
Yeah, with Ali, yeah, that's what's kind of going on. Our neighborhood has been taken over by rapid drug use. It's our whole neighborhood. We just feel unsafe. It's just obviously out of control. There's again, we're not letting our daughter, we don't feel easy about letting our daughters go out in the neighborhood. It's unsafe. So it's very bad. And we noticed that there's one. Try to think here for a second. Just one initiator of this problem is that hotel. Seems to me it's basically just a drug den. So this is where everything, all this unacceptable behavior is congregating. It's coming from them. It's right in our neighborhood, and we've been living like this for years. And it just continues to go on and on and on. And we're trying as community members to give back to the community to make it a safer place. And we're kind of in a fight right here. We're in a struggle, and we're in a fight with what's going on in our neighborhood.
It's escalating.
Well, it's definitely escalating. It's rampant criminal activity, rampant drug use, ODs going all the time. And so our main question is there anything we can do about this? What is going to be done about this? Because we're responsible people, that love our community, that give back to beautify it, but we're in a battle. And this has been going on for years. Okay. And it's just, what can we do about it? And what is anything being done about it? Thank you for listening.
Ricky from South Central Foundation. I live in Alaska Landings, just over here by the Comfort Suites. DOGE funding has been slashed, but Alaska Humanities Forum is fighting back by having a fundraiser this Friday. And I bought myself a ticket. It was only $75. I couldn't buy a table because I'm not a laureate. But I would encourage you to attend. The tickets are sold online, and this is what I purchased my out. So it looks like it's $75 for the ticket, and it's at 6:30 p.m. on Friday at the museum. So I'm going to support Alaska Humanities Forum.
Hi, I'm Joyce Marsh, and we live right next to Uri Park. So we are victims of the abatement of Northwood. We've had two mass fires in the last 2 weeks. I've been talking to all the assembly members. I spoke last night. And the mayor's office. And the latest I've been told is that all of their funds are used up for the next month. They're probably abating with Mountain View or those other bigger parts. So they don't know exactly when they'll come and help us. In the meanwhile, one thing I would mention to you, I don't know if it's possible, but there used to be, if you call the police on a certain location more than once, they're supposed to be charged with nuisance. I mean, is that a suggestion?
Okay, well, I run a hotel.
Sorry.
Understood. We're gonna let everyone have a chance to speak. Thank you.
Court. But at any rate, they're still there. It's a danger to our community. That is a little park surrounded by residents, and I really feel at risk being here and not at home defending my home. Yeah, I know. Second, there were a couple times the fire department didn't come out, and it's smoking. So there we go.
I have all the same concern they have about the, the camps and everything, but I'll just bring one more point up, and that's the tunnel under, Spenard that comes off Fish Creek Trailers Beach. Sleeping in there, have stuff all over the place. It's not safe to bike there. It's dark in that tunnel. You can't see. I mean, one solution might be to put lights in there, like the tunnel under Lake Otis has lights. It would be nice to have lights so people could see. But I'd rather face traffic and be in the street than use that trail that was designated.
Now, speaking of biking, I do a pedal party Anchorage. It's every Thursday. We ride our bikes to a pub or brewery. At 5:15, we meet up. At 6 o'clock, we bike to a different brewery, and that is the end. But the idea is we get people biking to a location and then all biking together. So highly visible, bring safety to cyclists in our city.
Great.
We're on Facebook, Instagram, all the socials.
Driving.
Yeah.
I live just maybe 10 feet out of the abated circle from Northwood. I wish I would have gotten a letter saying, oh, by the way, you have new guests moving in. They left the park. They lined up all the crap along the bridge, and we watched every day, and they wrapped it all up, and it's beautifully, and people would come and rummage through it. The next morning we woke up and we had cats on our property line, but I didn't have in our yard, but they took them out, so we went to the hotel, which is now in the window. And I said, they're on your property, because I live on Murray and our property lines that, but they put a bike path behind our house here a few years ago, and that's the biggest regret. That's my taxpayer money, and when I'm looking at all these other things about putting more bike trails, please don't. I still have where I'm going to be the police in our yard, and so we had to call the police over and over, and finally they started leaving, and his friend went up and started picking up. And I didn't leave him, and we just picked up all this crap, needles, garbage, paraphernalia, and he goes out every day because you stop. No, they do time. When people are trying to find a new home, and he goes up and they disappear. That's mom. And so they drop something off, it's in the trash. And they'll keep like people don't want to leave, we don't want to leave. When those people were there, I was scared. I had to lock my door, lock my doors away. But I was constantly looking out. I couldn't sleep during the night because every sound I heard was like, and I would tell the police, I'm filling up my grandchildren. But their check is right there. And as they collected more treasures, they creeped down and charged up. And so then I could call the police and said, okay, now I know they're in my yard. My yard crosses Fish Creek and a couple spots. I would like to have gotten a letter ahead of time saying, oh, by the way, for evading, but that means that they go, look, everybody that I talked to said, yeah, you just go right outside and circle. And so we just got jumped on overnight. It was just horrid, but people walk through and I, looking at the list of different park things and bike trails, well, please don't. People plenty on anything, they don't start someone else's piece, yes, it's a property. I won't vote for anything like that anymore, because nobody's taking care of the seven. That trail is behind my house, and I don't even go. I can't go along.
Thank you all. I think, we're all residents of this neighborhood. I live just on the other side of Minnesota, but on these trails every day and I experience and see a lot of the same things that you all see. And I don't think any of us are okay with this. And I think the purpose of these meetings is for us to get together as neighbors and talk to each other about solutions. I don't have the answers. No one person in this room has the answers, but I think that if we all work together and try to come up with creative solutions and then communicate those to the powers that be, that's the way that we can be effective, is if we can work collectively on these solutions. So thank you everyone for sharing.
Excuse me, can I talk? Can I talk? I'm in the Zoom call.
Yeah, sure.
Say hi. My name is Alice Manueli and I live in Spenard also. I've been dealing with issues with trash bins that homeless get into. The garbage goes on the ground. It's unhealthy. It attracts animals and it's a continuous situation. Spenard has gone downhill. It is excuse my expression, a hellhole. All the expressions of these neighbors that they're saying, it's collective. And we need to, just like you said, we need to gather together and have one voice because we all are going through this. But we have power if we all unite. And that's the problem. We have to unite and make our voices heard. And I know time and time again, they say, make your voice heard to the assembly. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. So somebody did share with me a restorative re-entry services person that she can go out to some of the homeless, try to see what they need. I do have a phone number for her and she might be of help. Supposedly she has access more quickly to some of these services, the fire department, the police, and so forth. But we all need to get together as neighbors and collectively make our voices heard. We can't be divided. So if there's any way that we can all unite in this Spenard community, let's do it. Behind my house, there was a fire, supposedly homeless person burned it down. All we're doing is kind of just expressing our situations here, but nothing's getting done. We've got to put some things into action. I have behind my house in the alley, I've got a building that's boarded up, and then all of a sudden I see homeless go in there. I've got to call 311, 911. We're getting tired of this. And I understand, we want to be part of the solution. So right now I'm traveling. I've been to San Francisco. It's gotten a lot better with the homeless. And I always ask, why? What's happening? Well, they're enforcing the laws. They're enforcing the laws. That's what's happening. They've employed more people to pick up trash. Why? Because they're losing economically. But I saw people come back. I saw conventions come back. We want our city to be like that again. We don't want to hide our homeless and so forth when the visitors come. We don't want to hide our trash. Our trash is everywhere. And I asked again, this area, where's the Tenderloin district? I said, also the financial district in San Francisco. I said, gosh, I don't see any homeless. What are they doing? Well, they're taking care of it and they're enforcing the law, and also the trash. They're employing more people to pick up the trash. All the trash, all the homeless, all the drugs. It's a morale issue, and it's bringing our morality down, and
Hey,
our value of our houses are going down.
Alice, thank you for sharing. We appreciate it. We need to move on, but thank you for
It's deplorable.
sharing. Okay, all of the executive board members introduce themselves at the beginning of the meeting. Please come chat with us at the end of the meeting if you have ideas for how to get involved or solutions. We're happy to listen. This is why we're here. So again, thank you all. Up next, we have some brief reports. I don't see our school board member or, oh, hey, right on cue. Chris, I'm gonna go to Representative Carolyn Hall. Okay, review. Representative Hall, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Thank you. I imagine you can hear me.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Well, thank you everybody for allowing me to share a few nuggets from Juneau. I also appreciate hearing everybody talk about the issues that you're facing there in Spenard. I'll try to keep things brief, but the big items that are going on in the Capitol this week are the budget. The operating budget was passed out of the Senate today. We anticipate having it back on the House floor on Friday. What will likely happen is we will have the budget go to conference committee either by Friday, Saturday, or Monday of next week. So we're working pretty well on time to get that passed so that we can adjourn on time. I know HB 136, a lot of folks in Turnagain and Spenard have been following that bill really closely because there's a strong chance that it could impact the Fish Creek Trail Connection Project. 136 was heard and passed out of transportation yesterday, and it passed out within an amendment. And it is not clear to me at this point what the amendment may or may not do when it comes to potential impacts with the Fish Creek Trail connection. So I'm going to be reaching out to the municipality of Anchorage, to Eva Gardner, the municipal attorney, to get her understanding of how it might impact the Muni's project there. What I do know is that there has been overwhelming support for the Fish Creek Trail connection when it comes to HB 136, and also another bill that we should all be aware of, which is HB 142, which would also very seriously impact the Fish Creek Trail connection project if it were to pass the legislature. But there were over 50 letters in opposition of the two bills, specifically 136, and everybody is rallying in support of the Fish Creek Trail Connection project. So we are doing what we can to monitor very closely, but then also to make sure that we're mitigating any impacts to such an important project to Anchorage residents. I don't know that I should probably get too deep into my personal legislation. We have a couple of items that are moving this week, which feels really good. But the big picture stuff is committees are going to start shutting down here, since we're going to be adjourning, if all goes well, on May 21st. I'm co-chair of the Labor and Commerce Committee, and we are still hearing bills, and we're going to hear bills right up until the very end, so long as we're not spending too much time on the House floor. So there's still a lot of work to be done. We're passing bills, and we're trying to set ourselves up for the greatest amount of success come January of next year. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions that anybody might have.
Questions for Representative Hall?
That's great.
The Fish Creek Trail connection has been on the Anchorage Park Swamp for the last couple of years.
Salmon down, crazy out the hill.
That's a daylight. Yeah. Yes.
When they talk about Fish Creek Trail connections, is Juneau aware of the problems we're having with the homeless and the street people using these trails? And getting it spread out further into our communities where it already is unsafe? And opening these trails, although in theory might sound wonderful, is actually granting them more access. Like, what about the safety of the community?
Why do we keep making trails if we can't keep ours safe that we already have?
Yes.
Good question. I'm not sure she's the one.
Well,
that
I'd like to know if public safety has been taken into consideration prior to this environmental great idea.
So she's labor and. What's her community?
May we hear a question, Representative Hall?
I'm sorry, could you, I was
the question is are lawmakers in Juneau aware of some of the public safety issues that we are facing directly related to the trail connections in town? And whether anything is being done on a state level to address some of these public safety concerns.
Concerning the homeless invasives of those trails. So crap is going into the creeks.
And the creek.
It's an EPA problem, like human shit going into the creek, needles, drugs. MRSA, Hep C.
For example, Erie Park with had huge restoration and development and built a huge bridge going across Fish Creek, which is now the reason half of those homeless are camping on that side of the creek. They use these pathways as their highway, which is why we're really not thrilled with any more bike trails, any more cleanup parks, any more connections from one part of Anchorage to another.
Sure, Representative Hall.
Sure. Thank you very much for the question, and I can appreciate the current concerns very much. I don't really want to speak on behalf of my colleagues, but I will speak on behalf of myself, which is I am aware of the public safety issues that Anchorage is facing when it comes to a variety of activities that are taking place on the trails, whether related to homelessness or otherwise. What I do know is that there's overwhelming community support for the Fish Creek Trail connection. And this is a project that has been in the works from one degree or another over the last 30 years. In addition, when it comes to public safety, it is more of a, I'm not trying to kick this to the municipality, and Christopher Constant, please forgive me, but I mean, that is more of a local issue. But in addition to that, when it comes to having state resources with community revenue sharing, that has been depleted over the last number of years. And so the municipality is not receiving the type of revenue support that it once saw when it comes to federal, or excuse me, for state dollars. And so I think the bottom line is, we need additional revenues at both the local level and the state level if we're going to be adequately addressing these issues that are facing the community. My personal take is that I'm going to continue to advocate for the Fish Creek Trail Connection Project because of the overwhelming support and the very thoughtful planning that has been taking place over the last 30 years. And so I'm going to be listening to the constituents, and I totally appreciate the concerns that are being shared here. But I think bottom line is, like, it's going to take a collective effort from people who are in this room, myself here in Juneau, and people in the assembly, and the rest of the Anchorage delegation to be supporting one another so that we can have Anchorage be a more livable and safe place for especially our children, but for everybody who uses our public infrastructure.
Thanks. I got one question online from Karen Button. Karen.
Hi there. I really, it's a little bit more of a comment, and it's just that to respond to a little bit of this, we all are concerned about the trails for a variety of reasons. And I also just wanted to say, some of us have been involved in the Midtown District planning process, and what came forward in that process that's happening is that there's a program called Vision Zero in Anchorage, and it's really pointing out where there's pedestrian and bicycle accidents, collisions with vehicles. And so one of the things that I just want to point out is that these trails are actually very helpful for the safety of pedestrians and bicyclists, to stay off the roads and not be endangered by vehicles. So just adding that to the pool.
Paul, I have two. I'm also incredibly concerned with the trails being taken over by our homeless neighbors. However, the portions and places this weekend, I biked the Three Seas, Chester Creek Coastal Trail, and the Campbell Creek Trail. And the areas that are disconnected from the trail system, like the area over by Northwood and the several sections of the Fish Creek Trail that are disconnected, those are the ones that are being targeted by the campers because they get less traffic. The coastal trail and the Campbell Creek Trail, where the wealthy people live, and the trails are well connected and well traveled by tourists as well as locals. There's not camping there. So I would encourage the legislature to continue to fund the Fish Creek Connection Project in a manner so that we can get traffic to our isolated sections of trails that are being settled, colonized by our homeless neighbors. Thank you.
I'm gonna take one more question for Representative Paul and move on to our next report. Someone have a question for Representative Paul.
Who do we talk to? I heard Representative Hall is not the person who's in charge of this. Who would be in charge of this? You had mentioned.
In charge of what?
Meeting first.
Which committee? What's the committee that we
I
want?
think like she said, this is kind of more on Anchorage issue than a state
But
legislature.
they don't have the funding. So then if we want the city to have the funding. That's not,
Question for Representative Hall.
yeah, mine was, who do I direct it to if it's not her?
You can draft it to her, I'm sure she'll help.
Yeah, I'm hearing a little bit of crosstalk, so I'm not sure I'm keeping up with the conversation, but I think the question is like, who do we reach out to regarding the project or about the funding or otherwise?
There's a concern that there's a lack of resources locally, and so whether there's someone in Juneau that folks can reach out to talk about getting more resources locally.
Well, given our state's fiscal constraints at the moment, I would think that your efforts are better laid not in Juneau in advocating with the legislature at this time. But I'm sure Assemblymember Constant has some thoughts when it comes to some local resources. My understanding is that the Fish Creek Trail project did pass on the municipal bond when it came to additional funding for the project just last month. And when it comes to if you're interested in advocating one way or another for, I guess, policies that could impact the Fish Creek Trail connection, right now, HB 136 has been referred to the House Judiciary Committee. And so reaching out to the Judiciary Committee would be a good next step if you wanted to go that route.
Senator Paul, and that's a good segue to our next report. Welcome, Assembly Chair Christopher Constant. Thank you for being here.
Hi there. Hi, Representative Hall. You're still there. So I was asked to report on two things. One, the status of the homeless cleanup efforts in the city, and two, a little bit on Airbnbs and the regulation. And so that's at least what I am prepared to talk about, but I'm pretty good at just answering questions. So I have some feelings about the way people have been talked about here tonight. An invasion, granting them access to our neighborhoods. Where do they go? Who are they and where should they be? It's a really convenient answer to think over there, not here. And that is a disaster that has led us into the place that we are today. And so I will just rebut anyone that suggests that there's an invasion, anyone that suggests that we should not be investing in our future, because if we do not invest in our future, we will be trapped in the present we have.
You know, I kind of
Excuse me, you're not making this report. You are not making this report.
You're just kind of making it up.
When I'm done. No, not. I am just appalled at how we would talk about human beings. I recognize that there are issues of public safety. We heard from you last night. And you were welcome there, and I saw you talking with the mayor directly. And so I know you have at least heard what their approach is. So now I'm going to read to you from their approach, because I think it's pretty thoughtful. For the first time in Anchorage's history, we have set up and are funding year-round sheltering. Never before has that happened in this town. What does that mean? Year over year, what has happened in this town is we have had shelter set up and paid for it to some degree through the winter when it's cold, and then at this time of year, everybody is shoved out on the streets and they become your problem, ironically. Problem because there's nowhere for them to go. So for the first time, we have and are keeping 300 shelter beds plus other supportive services, and that without funding from the state. And that's without funding from the federal government. That's from your pockets and my pockets. We're the ones paying for this, even though this is a statewide and national problem. And so if you're mad, I get it. I am mad too. I'm mad enough. I was in DC this week demanding that the Secretary of HUD fix the funding formula because the city of Houston, Texas gets $75 million a year to deal with their 3,200 homeless people. We have 2,600 and we get $4 million. We can't pay for this all alone. And so I'm fighting the battle in Washington. I'm fighting the battle in Juneau. This is a comprehensive problem and it's going to require a comprehensive solution. This municipality, as I just said, for the first time, is not shutting down shelters this month. Think about that. That is at least 300 people and probably more that aren't going to be showing up. Now, there is another fundamental problem happening here right now. The fundamental problem is that there's an inflow greater than the outflow into our system. Why? Because it's getting really expensive to live in rural Alaska. Every single bed is filled in many homes in rural Alaska. They're sleeping in shifts. That means 3 people per bed in a 24-hour period. In a 1,200 square foot home, 16 people trying to figure out how to sleep and live. When they can't live there, they come here. And the economy. People are falling off the back end. And so, yes, the problem is real. We're seeing it all over town. It's not just here. In fact, today they started abating Davis Park and the Snow Dome. I don't know if you've had a chance to go there. Everybody thinks that their park is the worst place in town. The worst place in town right now. The worst place in the state of Alaska right now. Probably one of the worst places on the west coast of the United States of America is Davis Park. We're going in there, we're abating. That's happening. And in fact, they've abated 23 major camps this year. So this is happening, but it doesn't feel like it because we're all living in this. I have a camp within a couple hundred feet of my house. I have 3rd Avenue Hill. If you've been by there, it's pretty interesting right now. It's right across the street from my house. But that said, we are going to continue this work of sheltering and getting people off the streets. But for the first time in 5 years, 6 years, we have a full staff of prosecutors in the prosecutor's office. That's an important piece to this equation because there has been, the best I can call it, is an increase of lawlessness that's been occurring in our city because there haven't been prosecutors, we haven't had enough police, and petty crime has been happening all over. If you probably felt your neighbors looking into your yard, what can I shop for here? These things are going to finally start to be addressed. So because we have prosecutors, because the police are committed, there's a full team that's developing. They have committed to policing, to enforcement of trespassing, enforcement of petty drug use if it's happening openly, and of the other piece. Yeah, it's the drugs, it's the trespassing, and it's the theft. And so in particular, Cars Gamble is closing right now. And one of the major elements of that closure was loss. And so because we haven't had prosecutors to prosecute major crimes, right? That has been a reality of this town for the last 5 years. But just this month, we have a full complement. So you will not hear of DUIs not being prosecuted. You will not hear of assaults not being prosecuted. You will start to see people who are camped out on our streets get the message that when there aren't places to go, you have to go there. So that's the commitment the administration has put forward. Now, if you want to read it for yourself, there's a website you can go to. It is muni.org/turningthetide. So there are details there, and that's the promise this administration has made to turn the tide on this situation that we are in. And it's real, and it is everywhere north of probably Diamond and maybe a little bit south of Diamond too. I just want people to be really thoughtful about how they talk about their neighbors, because the reality is they're not invading. There's no place for them to go. And there's enough trauma out there. We have to figure out how to move them to where we need them to be. But we don't do that by dehumanizing them. I just have to say that. That is the fundamental reality. So on this, I'll take some questions.
Saying,
Yep.
favorite, when they moved into my yard, can I not call that my yard with the computer?
So you should be able to, on the day they move into your yard, get a police response to remove them that day. That kind of trespassing is not allowed. Yeah,
One day more came,
yeah,
more came,
right.
and so
No, I understand that feeling. But what hurts everything about is trails.
you shouldn't say invaded, so to it.
Yeah.
I'll say it again, they moved into my yard, they moved into your yard.
That should have been dealt with on the day. The police have every right to remove them on a private property.
Every.
Can I ask him a question? Can you let him finish answering the question instead of just talking over him?
Bottom line on that whole thing is I just ask you, and you don't have to do anything I ask you to do, right? You just do anything you want, but recognize these are human beings living in these neighborhoods. And we have a duty as a community, as a civic society, a civil society, to treat them like human beings.
Yes.
That's it.
I see you looking at me and I feel like. First of all, public speaking is not my thing. And last night I was very involved.
I appreciated your.
And if I offended you
Didn't.
or anyone by speaking about the illegal campers, which is what they are, in any dehumanizing manner, it was not my intention. It is my intention to say, I'm in combat in my home.
Yep.
And if the laws were enforced, if it says illegal camping right there, and the police don't feel they can move them.
Right.
That is what I'm.
Ma'am, I heard you last night, and I did not take offense to what you said last night. Well, the statements that got my heart rate going are granting them access through our trail system. That phrase, to me,
Okay,
everybody has access on our trail system, and our trail system should function.
that's true.
And then talking about people invading is, I have feelings about that, but I get it, your property, and call me. If they ever show up and the police don't get them out that day, call your representatives because they should be gone that day from your personal private property. That's an unacceptable situation. And that gets back to the fact that the administration has presented a plan and they have told us they are implementing, and it started today in Davis Park, where they are going to begin enforcement of things they haven't been able to enforce because they now have prosecutors that can actually manage the caseload.
Neither of our assembly members ever called me back. I sent an email to all of you on the 24th. To say call me is false hope because we're not getting responses. Now, if you would like to say that you're going to respond in the future, that would be great because I'm not getting calls back.
I respond to just about every email that comes across my list, in particular if it's in the district that I represent.
My district.
Yeah.
And when I send it assembly.
Everyone gets it, but
Okay.
I have 48,500 people that we represent each. So have your hand up.
Yes, so. There's a lot of energy in this room, and I know that we have all been dealing with this for those 4 to 5 years you've been saying. I know not all of us have the same capacity to do something.
Right.
Like, some people can do something for an hour, some people are like, let's go. What can we do? What can we do? Is there something in the plan that you would just, outlined? Cause like the Northwood Park private property thing, that's its own.
Right, that's a whole other problem. Yeah, that's a whole other.
Yeah, but like we can't activate spaces
So.
as long as we're dealing with that.
Right, you asked a fundamental question, and if you listen today to the Public Safety and Public Health Committee, one of my peers asked the exact same question of the administration, and so I think that you will hear an answer to that question in short order, because we got this, because we were saying to the administration, look, we have to go to the community councils in the month of May. We're gonna get the questions, what are you doing? And so we got this answer, and I believe this answer to be true, and I believe we'll get an answer to that. Now, we are in the middle of the citywide cleanup right now. Nobody is recommending you go clean up a homeless building, right? But there are 1,000 other places you could go to clean up right now, to at least participate in the process of kind of undoing the hazards of winter that just happen every year. Notwithstanding any of the current crisis relating to people living in our parks. And so I would say the only answer I have in the short order is to continue reporting. It's definitely to continue calling the police. And what I ask for from people when they say, I called the police and nothing happened. I have a constituent right now who said the police told us this is the assembly's fault. I said, please tell me the name of the person who answered the phone when you called in. Ask them for their name and the time of the call, because I will have the chief of police listen to that call. Like, I will do that work if I know there's a person and a time to do that, because that's not an acceptable answer. And so those are the areas that we're working on developing right now, and it's ramping up. And so I have 3 questions, Francesca.
I have one solution for taking ownership of parks. If you go onto the Parks and Rec website, you can adopt a park. And there's many different levels. So you can view stewardship, which is absolutely free. You don't have to make any donations except your time, which is for cleanups, and Parks and Rec is supposed to help you prepare for that with gloves or bags or some tools. I don't know how funded they are if everybody takes ownership of the parks that are next to you to help clean up. But there's different levels. You could donate money if you aren't able to do the work yourself. And the other thing I would say is,
report.
yes, I do that.
Yeah, that is really the key. So I had you two, we'll go here and then Mr. Kern.
Well, I just had a question, on your report. So you said there's 300 shelter beds plus or minus currently.
Right.
And we have 2,600 people living on the
Statewide.
street.
Yeah, it's not all living on the streets of Anchorage.
Okay, so let's go down to 2,000.
Right.
What's the plan?
It's probably closer to 500 that are directly unhoused.
What's the plan for those folks in the administration right now? As we all know, black mold is just black mold.
Right.
And these people they all have significant issues.
Right.
And which makes housing sometimes completely not an option for them.
There are a number who will not accept housing for a number of reasons. So I don't have a great answer for you on exactly where people are going to go. That's been the fundamental problem. And the municipality has stood up hundreds and hundreds of units of housing, of permanent supportive housing. Spenard is one of the 3 neighborhoods in this town that are bearing the burden of this city's crisis. And so I can tell you there are a number of us looking now towards South Anchorage and towards East Anchorage for potential future locations. But we're spending every dime we have under the cap to tackle this problem, which gets back to why I was in DC this week, sitting right next to Senator Sullivan and the Secretary of HUD, making the demand that they fund us, because if we could get half of what they're paying a city that has roughly the same number of homeless people, we would make true headway. And that includes conversions of hotels. It includes taking properties and bringing them back on into living capacity, solving the housing crisis, because ultimately all of this comes down to a housing crisis and the state failing to make investments in the behavioral healthcare system. Anchorage cannot be the primary provider of behavioral healthcare services for everybody. That is a power of the state. We are bearing that burden. The state has cut $100 million of revenue from us annually since 2015. Right? That's almost $1 billion of lost revenue. That's why this is happening in our town in this way. And we are the location in the state where everybody comes when there's nowhere else to go. So it is just a human crisis. And I wish I had a better answer.
Can I ask one follow-up? And I don't monopolize it. Is there planned work sessions coming up on solving the displaced peoples?
So today was one. I don't know when the Housing and Homelessness Committee is, but it'll probably be next week. Every month we have this meeting and we're talking about these solutions as we work on the problem. And so, but the mayor's approach this month and really for this summer is going to be more of a public safety driven approach than even shelter or housing. The shelter and housing will be standing up, but
Well, yeah,
it will be, but I think much because of this feeling that people are having, the mayor's approach is going to be more police, more of that. And so, and some people will be unhappy with that answer. I think you need to lift it all at once. And so, which is complicated and expensive. So I don't have the greatest answer to that question. It is where we're working right now.
Can I just make a quick comment? Can I just make a quick comment?
So we have a line of folks, but I can have you in the line. First, it's this gentleman, then it's this lady, then this speaker, and then it's you.
I've always just thought from an observational perspective in regards to the allocation of resources. If this issue is an issue for at least here in Spenard and Mount View and elsewhere, if this issue appeared along Southport, where that road has a lot of tree, grassy areas along, would the resource allocation be different?
So obviously it's speculation, and there is a political reality to what you're saying that has always been, and why there is a perception in some people's minds of where people should be. Right. And I have rebutted that argument, which is much to your chagrin, because Spenard stood up and said, we will take some of these folks, which it didn't exist before about 8 years ago. And so Spenard and West Anchorage, Midtown and Downtown have all agreed to be part of that solution. That leaves South Anchorage and East Anchorage to join us in being part of the solution. And so your question is astute. I think we're in a condition where there haven't been enough resources anyways. So it doesn't even really matter from that resource allocation question of if they're there or here. It feels like there's just been a kind of a failure to act because there haven't been enough key players in the right places. But I believe we are much closer now than we have been in the last 6 years to being ready to approach it from that public safety, public health perspective. So I don't know. So okay.
So the question that I have is where are these guys coming from? And you say they're coming from the villages, and I'm not sure I buy that. Everything I hear you say is we need to get more federal funding. We need to get more federal funding. And from what your policies appear to be, you encourage this city to have homeless so you can justify more federal funding. The laws that you have in place in your policies, roughly 20 people get killed a year on our streets. And you use that to justify more money.
So here's the thing, on all of our streets, the people who have died in conflicts with cars have all been on state roads within our streets. There hasn't been one on a neighborhood street. But that's okay, it's just me blaming someone, Jacob, you're hurt, thank you.
My guest house that I ran just was murdered in Minnesota and Northern Lights in February 23rd.
Yep.
Francis Catawba.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's all, they're all
by
on state roads.
Dropped up, whacked out guy that hit and ran, and he's dead. Most beautiful man ever.
So, okay, back to your question.
Okay, so, and that's, we all talk about homeless. I'm wondering, where does the line get drawn between the homeless and the cause of homeless and the drug addiction? So the drug addiction is where I personally, on Spenard, Minnesota, right there, Little Common Ground Guest House since 1997, see daily in my face, constantly, all day, all night, people that are so obliterated out of their minds that they are smashing their head against the Pizza Hut utility box.
Right.
Today, twice now, up and down my alley, trying to get in my guest house, under the trees, making, right?
Yep.
If you were only a fly on this wall,
Right.
then we're afraid. We're afraid.
Yep.
We're not being invaded. We have been invaded. We're afraid. We don't want to, personally, I love life. I love all people, and I see the good in all people, but what do we do when this is in our face? You don't know what these people are gonna do, right?
Yep.
It's not a homeless.
There's nowhere to
Well,
go.
I understand. So my day job is a provider of treatment services, drug and alcohol treatment services. I work in the field that you're talking about, and I have witnessed the expansion of the services that are available over the last 5 years in a way that has never happened before. And that's because there was a Medicaid expansion that allowed what's called 1115 waiver, and we went from having just a handful of grant-funded treatment providers to a vast array of potential treatment providers. Now, that's just the substance abuse piece. There's also the mental health crisis we're in the state and their failure to approach community-based supports after they did corrections reform back in the mid 2010s. And then before that, it was the downsizing of API by 75 beds. And so the state, again, has failed to make these fundamental investments in behavioral health care. And that is, in my opinion, my professional opinion, not my political opinion, why this is happening in our streets. Now, the answer to this problem, when we did corrections reform, they eliminated a number of sentencing guidelines where people would get sentencing in jail, because you can't sentence someone to treatment, right? You can't say you could go to treatment instead of jail unless they have a sentence for jail, right? So if there isn't enough of a criminal issue there that they would go to jail, then they can't sentence them to treatment. But and motivation to treatment doesn't matter where it comes from in the clinical environment, if you are motivated because of whatever reason. So we are working in that area as well. And I believe we will see a turn when the enforcement starts to ramp up, because we can't have the waiting room for our behavioral healthcare system be the streets of our neighborhoods.
Can I just say, you know, my heart goes out to all the people that are just young and old that are in that realm. It hurts me daily. If I had resources, if I had a little pamphlet that I could at least give them something, you know, what can I say? It's like, are you okay? Like, I can hug you, here's some water, you know. So I got one foot over here, and I also have one right here, like, stay the check away from my daughter, and you know, like,
I'm the same as you. I agree with you.
if we could have that clear, we can, you know, promote that, or we could do something on the ground where it's on the ground, grassroots level.
So there's one more person before you interrupt, the lady on the
I have
phone.
one more, I have a question. As, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Al.
Okay, I'm sure as a collective, most of us care about people. I'm sure we care about the homeless. We have rights too, and we understand what we have to do to call the police and so forth. I appreciate you trying to get some solutions. I heard you today. As I said, I do travel a lot for work, and I'm always curious how they deal with the homeless. I was just recently in LA, and I know they're cleaning up for the Olympics. So I asked them, I said, what are you guys doing for cleaning up? Now, one of the things is when you said you're going to put more police in there, what they're doing is the police is going with a social worker, a mental health person. They're having more of a group so they can understand the people, and they're listening to the people. What do you need? And they're giving them forewarning. They're saying to them, you know, in 2 months, we're going to clean up this area here. You have a choice. We can help you to go to the shelter. We have, I'm sure many of us have cleaned up trash. We've helped the homeless, you know, but we thank you. Okay, I understand.
I just want to let you know that fundamentally we're doing the same thing. It took me 4 years to create and fully fund and operationalize a 24-hour mobile crisis team, which is a partnership of a paramedic firefighter and a mental health crisis worker, an actual clinician, and they work all around the clock to go and they do this work. We also have the mobile intervention team and the HOPE team, which are coordinated teams of multidisciplinary professionals going out and doing the preliminary work to help get people to a safe place before we come in and break down camps. And so, and one thing we were able to, I'm sure you won't believe this, but when we go to DC and show them our data, when our continuum of care organizations make contact with a person and bring them into their system, 9 out of 10 of those individuals go for a year at least into a permanent placement. We're being very successful. It just doesn't feel like it because the stream is faster than the dam. So, but there was one last question I was asked to report on a totally different subject. It was the Airbnb licensing issue. And so, yeah, it is a housing issue. So there was a licensing proposal that failed last year. We passed an ordinance that required reporting. Airbnb and all those groups said, screw you, we don't have to follow your laws. And so they're not reporting. So we are coming back with a second licensing proposal that will be less of the things that the members couldn't get behind, which was burden on the potential operators, people who are running a room in their home. And so the question is still open, would be my response to that issue. We're still sorting through it. And we've tried a couple of solutions. One, the members said no. One, the Airbnb group said no. And we probably can't afford to sue them. And so we're going to come up with something probably with the hair burden on the providers, not the people who are having the units, but on the companies themselves. So complicated problems, complicated solutions. And again, if I came at you a little hot today, it was because my emotions go up when I hear about people. They're people to me, who are people to me, and I want to make sure that we approach this whole thing in a way that lifts all boats. And so that's just, if I came at you and you felt like I was mad, that's not what that was. Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Assembly Chair Chris Thompson. Thank you.
Want to thank you. I'd also like to thank you for talking about the big issues. Almost or otherwise members. Question about the Airbnb stuff. Do you know how many units? How many housing units in Anchorage are on Airbnb or any other short term?
So it's hard to get to that number. It's less than 2,000, but there are data tools out there that you can look at, but they aren't exact. And we propose to spend about $25,000 for a company that will do it exactly, but the members said. And so that question is coming back around. Can't say when, but sooner than later. The Girdwood situation is creating the need to do it more than anywhere else because they have a very high percentage of properties that have been pulled out of the house market. And so the timeline is probably theirs we want to drive in our.
Thank you. Follow-up question, actually last month, I think it was the month before that, there was a gentleman here talking about those 10,000 years or whatever.
Yeah.
I'd asked him a similar question and asked if there's any thought currently being given to a potential influx of housing that just be put on a short-term Airbnb market. Are you aware of any thoughts being put to that?
So
keep that from becoming a
here's the thing.
issue for greater.
Most housing that is going to be built of those 10,000 homes is not going to be a government project, right? It won't be the government building it. We don't build housing. It would be a mistake for us to do it. There are organizations like NeighborWorks through Alaska Housing Finance and some other organizations that do that. For the most part, like I had someone reach out to me 2 weeks ago with a proposal to build 250 senior housing units that they wanted to talk about some tax policy. And so they're going to do that and they're going to set up those rules. And we are promoting the idea of putting certain restrictions on them, like owner occupancy or not being used for any lease less than a period of time, no less than 30 days, but some people think 6 months. And so those conversations are all happening, and I guess is the main point.
That's what.
Yeah, thank you very much for your time. You're well off the rails and that. So, with respect to the other folks who are Jensen needs, we move on. Thank you all. Because we could be here all night talking. It's really important issue. Kate, where is Kate? Welcome. Kate is going to talk to us about something. He's the Peter's Rivers. Something. Upstairs. This is where you're gonna be. Forward. Yes. That's it. Yeah.
So the project site consists of 3 vacant lots. They're located at 1108 West 32nd Avenue, east of Spenard Road, and south of West 32nd Avenue. Parcel number 1 and parcel number 2 from Spenard Road in zone E3 General Business District. Parcel number 3 is zone R2M mixed residential. The owner would like to combine the 3 parcels into a 1.1 acre lot. To do so, the parcels first need to be common zone, which requires a comprehensive plan amendment and a zoning amendment. So there are 3 parts to this project. First, parcel number 3, land use designation needs to be amended from compact mixed residential medium to Main Street corridor to match the 2020 Spenard corridor land use plan. Second, parcel number 3 zoning district needs to be amended from R2M mixed residential to B3 general business, but all 3 parcels are commonly zoned. So third, parcel number 3, 1 through 3 zoning district will be combined for planning action, 1 lot, and utility easement that follows the shared boundary as little line through parcel number 3 will be vacated as to surplus the meaning of configuration. It is likely that the use action will occur before the August 4th plan was commissioned in August 6th plan. If we are the final plat, would like to take an additional 4 to 6 months to approve and reported by this. Does anyone have any questions?
What's the final use?
There is no final use at this point. The owner is looking to sell the property.
So essentially, it sounds to me we're gonna take some residential zone property, combine it with a bunch of business property. This kind of is removing available housing lots from our community.
That is a valid concern. B3 is one of the zoning districts that has the most potential for mixed use business and residential.
I just, this has been a common for this community council, keep taking residential properties, and turning them into business properties. And then they get sold and for a lot of states vacant. And we lose housing, potential housing.
Yes, these are currently vacant lots. There did used to be buildings on them, they are have been demolished this point. And the residence lot is this little strip third. And so it's pretty narrow. Yeah. Does anyone else have any questions?
Yes, so I'm still trying to figure out where this is. So I'm a little behind, you said a lot of numbers, and I don't know what that is. I was sitting in a coffee shop, hold on, I just want everybody else to see. Oh, actually, there's a coffee shop, are we talking about the coffee shop spot?
So this is Spenard Road between Northern Lights and Minnesota. So West 32nd.
So that's not what's highlighted, where the old coin place used to be?
Teachers not letting us.
Across the side, yes.
Okay, and so where are they? Okay, sorry, I was trying to get those to them. Stop saying March. Let's see.
Well, it's a line of the,
Yes.
but this is not sure she was others.
Yeah, we're just.
We're actually on time.
Let's all know where this parcel is.
Watch. Yeah.
So we're talking about the area that's been demolished, it's vacant lot now, it's on Spenard Road. Where the old Bullion Brothers building used to be, everyone knows now. Yes, stop. There's some Bullion.
And the pictures.
My wife, Roseanne, and she's the owner of this property. Now, a lot of they remember that this was the old Spenard pawn shop area. Or Roy's coin shop.
Yeah.
William Brothers, next door to the property is Sicily's Pizza. Now, this is a odd shaped parcel. But it's roughly a little over an acre. Now, what we have here is two parcels that are zone B. That makes up the bulk of this 46,000 square feet. There's a narrow parcel in the back that is 55 feet wide and roughly 212 feet long. It's zoned R2M, means it's zoned for multifamily. However, because it's only 55 feet wide and 212 feet long, there is nobody that is going to spend the money to build the potential that can be built for multifamily because there isn't enough room. And so what we're proposing is to take that narrow strip of residential land and combine it with the other two B3 lots. And with one big B3 lot, you can do multifamily. You can do more density than what you can with just that one single R2N lot. And so our, as she was showing, is to remove let's look and about the property lines, you made one big lot, you will be able to
enhance what is already there. You have Sicily's Pizza next door. You can do multifamily, mixed use. You will be able to have commercial and the commercial use below, retail dwellings up above. There's the entrances, commercials to much better use than this setting. Now, we've already spent over $250,000 demolishing the old buildings because nobody could, it would cost too much to renovate these buildings. And we've got new surveys, we've got new boundaries marked. It's all set to go to try to sell it to another potential developer to enhance what can be done. But the first step is to get Spenard Community Council to come on board and say, yes, we will draft this proposal because it will Spenard. You have 30 seconds and Spenard on that corner, and it allows you access.
Okay, I just want to remind everyone tonight, we are not here to make a decision on anything. So if you have any questions about this, this would be the time to ask questions or develop.
Well, as somebody who's gone through this many, many times in the 35 years belonging to community council, the problem is that right down the street here on Spenard and Aspen was exactly the same thing. It was a majority B3 with a little sliver. It had a house on the back, and they rezoned that to all B3 because they said, oh, we're gonna, as soon as we get this rezoned, we're gonna put in a really nice plaza there. And it's been like 10 years. It's owned by one of the wealthiest men in town, Justin Green, and he stores equipment on it. Yeah. And then the same thing happened further down the road where they wanted to put in a hotel. Unfortunately, we sunsetted it so that if they didn't do something 1 year, then the sunset clause, it went away and it went back to what it was. The problem is we have that all up and down Spenard Road. We had housing that was on the front next to Writer's Block that was turned into a trailer park. I mean, it was residential. They said, oh, we're gonna do a lot of things with this. They combined it. One of the most powerful developers in town, the Debenham family, did that on the corner of Arctic and Benson. And my husband and I went to testify about that because they said the same thing. We're going to combine it all. We're going to take the residential, we'll make it all into B3, but we will put units on it. We will build housing units. That was during the pandemic, so it's 5 years ago. My problem with these things is we've seen it in Spenard over and over and over again. And our whole thing in this community council has been that Spenard is supposed to be a transit corridor. And the idea is to have people living close to Spenard Road so that as it's being improved and the bicycle paths and everything, that it will be used to find more people using bus. But if we keep turning them into lots, which I can point out 10, walking up down, this used to be residential rezoned. This was where they have next to Gwinnie's. That was rezoned from residential, and now it's a paid for parking lot. The problem is we've seen this too often, and nothing against you, sir, but that's been our history, is that we've been waiting for these projects to come on, like, well, we'll combine them and then we will make multifamily. Well, some of these projects go back 20 years or pads now. So, I mean, if we were to ever support something like this, I think that it would be wise to put a sunset clause or ask for a sunset clause. But it has to work for our community because we're all losing housing, and we're talking about all the time that we need housing. And so we gotta have the land for housing. And as soon as it becomes B3, it's 3 times the value of our residential. So it makes it harder for people to go in and develop that as housing, because the land itself is now 3 times more valuable.
Thank you.
Question?
Yes, a question. I wanted to clarify what it is you guys are proposing to do. It sounds like the intention that was stated was to combine the lot and then put it on the market. So is there an actual development proposal that is being brought forward, or is the intention to change the lot boundaries of the zoning and then catch it up?
Well, currently there is no development plan. I mean, a plan, in order to get it, to bring an incentive to get it developed. Right now you have, the bulk of it's already B3. There's only a small portion that is R2L. That small portion of R2L, you can't realistically even build a two chase. Because it's too small.
That's fine. I'm specifically asking the question, what is your stated intention?
The stated intention is to combine the 3 lots into 1 lot and then put it on the market.
So it's basically already on the park. If you drive by there, you'll see the sun. So we're trying to enhance the use.
Thank you. My name's Jason. Question for you. The other side of that property, the R2L, there's a big plot of R2L there. What's on that side?
So that's mostly trailer homes. Right here.
Got it.
You can see.
So in theory, that can be wide, but about a plot.
If that owner wanted to buy parcel 3 from Robert here and combine those properties, they could, but that's probably.
I understand. I have similar concerns about the same land to the potential business plot when we're having a housing crisis in the city. So trailers fit on a plot like that.
Kate, can you remind us when this is going before the planning and zoning commission?
So I haven't submitted an application, we haven't submitted an application until we move to the community council, but if I submit it soon for the deadline, we'll be able to meet the August 4th planning and zoning commission and the August 6th planning board.
Okay. Possibly August, beginning of August. Okay, thank you. Irene, do you have a question?
Yes, my name is Irene and I've been here a long time. If you sell it as B property for business, but you're talking about putting multi-unit homes in it, is that then a business because some company buys the lot to put in 4plexes or 8plex or something? Because it seems to me that when you're saying it's B, but you talked about putting in residential units, how does that work? Or you put a residential on top of the building like in the old days where you lived upstairs in your home?
That's called mixed use. So retail below, dwellings up above. And you see this. There, when you look at the B3 use regulations, there's an enormous amount of different types of uses. Multifamily is one use.
Right. But how are you gonna get that to be the use that the fire is gonna do?
Yeah, exactly.
You can't.
Like you said, if it's worth 3 times as much for a business to have it, and they pay more property tax, then it's gonna be more valuable to our community's budget. But if nobody has a place to live, then they're not gonna be able to make payments to the business to buy whatever it is.
I think that's the conundrum.
That's the conundrum.
A big question, and we just don't.
Okay,
It sounds like. So this will go before planning and zoning, probably in the beginning of August. We'll kind of keep an eye on this and revisit this probably at a later meeting.
If it's an 8plex, aren't they gonna get a tax abatement in 20 years?
We don't know.
We don't get any funds there either.
There's a lot of what ifs about this, if there was something great. So thank you for being here. Phil, did you have a question?
I do have a question.
Okay.
I'd like to hear it.
Yes, please. What's your question?
With the property, the way it is now, how many residential places could you put on it? What would be the maximum effect that you could build on that for our community in Spenard here?
That would have to go to the land use division.
Could you put maybe
zone R2
2 trailers on?
So our
Modular homes.
Is that what you said?
They're 12, 15 feet wide, 55 foot, give enough to put it
It's
on.
zoned to R2.
It's zoned R2M, so modular homes, trailer parks are not allowed in the R2M district. They
So what
are
kind of
in
houses?
this. R2M district allows duplex with an ADU, so you could put 3 dwelling units on it, but the size of the lot
restricts the kind of building that you can put on it. It's too skinny. It'd be very difficult for someone to put 3 units on this lot.
And then parking is always an issue.
So
And the park,
the question that is this a viable lot the way it stands right now? If you can't build a house on it under the Title 21, then it's not much good for residential, is it?
correct.
So if we're worried about it being residential and we can't build on it, it's not gonna help us a damn bit.
Well, to all of it could be rezoned to R2M also.
Oh, so
That's
you
also-
want him to get up his commercial?
That's another way that, well, see, but that's what you're saying, it's.
Thank you. We're not gonna solve this.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah. Thank you very much, thank you. Okay, boy. I feel that meeting to learn. Next topic is the joint resolution of the Midtown Spenard and North Star Community Council to support funding to develop a master plan for Cuddy Park. And this resolution that was on the table, and some of you may have in your hands. If you don't, there could be one available at the table. Has been worked on for a couple months. I haven't personally been working on this. I hate to put you on this spot, but Sarah's gonna talk about this real quick. Thank you, Sarah.
So, current resolution is already signed by Midtown and North Star, yeah, the lot needs to be out, pull it out.
Yeah.
This is also part of the Newtown district plan, bigger picture, but the idea is. If we sign this, if we agree to this and vote on it, we are agreeing, we are in support of, funding. To develop a master plan for Cuddy Park. There was a question last month about what would that cost? With my sources combined, approximately $100,000 for the master plan, but if it's funded with municipal dollars, it goes out for a bond. So it would not be, if we sign this, we are not signing on automatically for $100,000. We are signing on to say, yes, we agree that we should have funding for a master plan, and it supports putting it on a ballot. So it's one step in that process. It's a stronger voice with a joint resolution. So why would we want a master plan? In our last bond, the Parks bond, voters did approve to have a chalet in Cuddy Park. In the living skating oval, they're gonna put a chalet in the middle there. So what master plan does for us is as ideas come through, are they part of the plan? Or are we just building with multiple Lego sets and hoping it turns out? As opposed to a minute. So that is the idea behind this. We can vote on this tonight. Does anybody have any questions?
I have a real brief one.
Yes.
Is there some reason that this can't be done internally through the park service? I think Tyler Keegan, isn't it, is a park planner by degree. Is there some reason we don't do this stuff in-house rather than fund it outside?
So the master plan parts, we have a steering commission of interested stakeholders. So for example, if you have someone from Spenard, someone from Midtown, someone from North Star, it wouldn't just be municipal employees.
The question remains. Why can't those people all come together with a park planner and come up with this? In other words, why are we funding it instead of using employees?
I'm sorry, I follow. Is there anybody here who can better answer?
So, yeah, the committees I have worked on in the past utilize the resources of the city. And then they have volunteers from the different community councils. And then there's one coordinator who normally has a salary who works on it. And they're like a part-time employee who works on it. And they have the expenses of like printing things and having stuff drawn up on computers. So it uses the resources of the city. And then it has additional resources to bring it all together.
I also think a lot of times your plans involve some type of contractors, an engineering firm that specializes.
transit plans to begin with. So I suspect that now they involve this in particular, but in the past that were done, for example, transit corridor plans and such, and they all involve some type of a planner or the private firm. Those alongside of it.
So we'd be like an advisory committee.
Not every single project in the community involves a contractor, something that's required. In this case, probably this.
Yes, every master plan I worked on has a consumption tracker, in years. Thank you.
Is there a timeline associated with this, or is this just sort of like?
There is not currently a time for it. This is a, yes, we supported early stages.
Thank you.
So again, to me, the financial responsibility that the town comes with our community taxes.
For stating that we do
To produce some claim and vision for it. Perfect, because you said I'll go out for a
Yes.
thing. But you said 100,000 from our.
No. Okay, so yeah, we signed on to those meetings. We're simply saying, yes, we support seeking funding for the development of the master plan. That said, we support putting it on a ballot. So just like those ballots, like a parks ballot, it would be a bond. That would be approximately $100,000, they would fine tune with that amount each. And then it would go out to the vote. To vote on.
What?
The master plan.
As part of the bond, for each April we vote on the bond. This isn't for construction, this is to put a plan together. If the bond passes, we'll put a plan together for the park. If the bond fails, the park just stays as is. And if a plan is put together, nothing gets built necessarily, but at least there's a vision and ideas of what we want the park to be, or what we want it to look like in the future. This isn't committing anyone's anything right now and saying, yes, we support making this park better in the future.
And it moves it forward to put it on a bond because it says, yeah, the community would like to see it, as opposed to decision makers guessing.
It may or may not end up on the bonds anyway.
Exactly.
This is another fund source instead of bonds. We're over $1 billion in bond debt, and we just put another how much money in April? We're $1 billion in. When will that ever get paid off?
I'm not the expert, who wants to just maybe or do you want to call it? Maybe bonding is one that I'm aware of that I've published. But in cabinet that still these are questions.
Possibility.
There's no other funds.
I know what no possibles. Yeah, I mean,
But it keeps going on to the property owners, and then the new projects don't pay taxes. And then. So,
yeah, the services.
So my grandchildren's are still gonna be paying for 20-year-old projects.
They do pay off bonds every year. I also know what that's.
The interest is like $80 million.
I can't
It's
speak to that part.
like.
Everyone in favor, please raise your hand.
Can everyone vote?
Been to a meeting, and that's what once, and is a resident or representing a community organization.
Teams, okay, I've got, and it's 17, 18, 19, no, 18, okay. All those opposed. Raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 opposed, okay, thank you. Moving right along is Stephen Stone here. Oh, hi. Well, Stephen, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. My name is Steven. I'm the transit planner for.
I'll feel free to walk around and
Okay.
Loud.
I am here to talk about the transit plan that our department had. It was created in 2019. implemented in 2020. It basically is a document that guides our department, public transportation department, which is people mover, anchor rides, and our ride share program. So all three entities make up the public transportation department within the municipality. So the transit on the move is our transit plan. And it was, again, created in 2019, right before the pandemic, implemented or approved by the Assembly of 2020. We might have been a part of some of those public meetings back then, depending on how long you have lived in Anchorage. So we are updating that plan throughout the summer. We have public events that we'll be at and trying to be in every community throughout from now until September. We'll be in Mizzou in August, we'll be in Eagle River, at a bunch of different places to basically ask a single question, which is on our website, which is on our survey. It's basically, what do you value in public transit services? Your options are accessibility, which to us means, are we providing service where you need to go? Are routes on roads that you need to get to destinations on? So accessibility is one option. Reliability is another option. Is our system currently operating how it is intended to or scheduled to? And then convenience is our third option of basically asking the question, is our service, people mover service, anchor ride service, does it happen often enough to be able to use it for your needs? Does the bus come by your local bus stop often enough to get you out of your car and onto the bus? So those three values were defined and identified in our current plan. And those are guiding us through the next set of years as we update this kind of our transit master plan, transit development plan. We were able to implement Route 85, which now starts in Huffman Park, up the old Seward Highway through the Sac Library, comes down Spenard through Wisconsin, Northern Lights and downtown. So that was implemented because we heard from the public that we needed service back to the library and the highway. That was priority one. We've implemented transit security. So we now have a security department that rides buses and that designated spots rotating throughout the every day, 7 days a week. That was also identified as priority number two. So the projects that have been implemented and that are in place, we're refining that list and updating that list as we move forward through this public input process from you all to basically get a better understanding of 6 years ago, the city said this. 2025, what does the community need from public transit in Anchorage? Based on those values, or there is an other column. Should we focus on something else other than accessibility, convenience, and reliability? So we're going to be at a bunch of events. You can find it at places downtown. We'll be at the Organic Oasis on June 1st for Spenard Jazz Fest event. One of their events will also be at the museum for their First Friday event specifically for Spenard. Will also be again at the zoo. So we're trying to be at places where people are already going so that we can communicate and talk with you all in a more personable manner rather than just saying, go to the website, fill out a survey, tell us what you want. I mean, I would like to talk with people about what transit means to you, because it's my wife, I'm a transit nerd. You have socks that have our people in color. So it is what I do, it's how I live. So I know that I am, my brain often functions on just transit-based things. So I'm happy to talk about so hard, Stephen downtown community council as well. That works in the some questions if time allows.
Couple questions. Go ahead. The feedback that you're looking for, is that just related to existing infrastructure? Are you looking for thoughts, opinions on other transit options?
Yes.
To add a little bit to that. As I drive back and forth to work every day, I realize that nobody in this town should be on the roads. We are all terrible, self-interested drivers. run red lights constantly and weave in and out of traffic and do all kinds of stupid crap. And it's incredibly dangerous. And every time I get my, I feel like I'm taking my life into somebody else's hands. I would love to see more and more reliable public transit in this town. And to get rid of some of these major roads and cars and something other than what this current system looks like.
So to kind of go back a little bit about what you were just talking about, the master plan. There are lots of community plans that are designated around your councils, your neighborhoods. So the transit development plan takes all of those into account and says what does Spenard want. It's been transit supported development corridor for many years. So we are keeping 15-minute service on Spenard, at least Spenard, if not extending that. So part of the survey is there's follow-up questions like there is for everything. Demographics are all on, you can fill it out if you want to, but there's a map all through the survey, a link that just basically opens up to our system and says, where do you need service? Is it a specific location? Is it a specific road? You can leave a comment that's then visible to other people. Your information is not public. But yes, we want any kind of input and feedback and comments about anything.
We're gonna take 2 more questions, one from Matt and one from Francesca, and then Will. And wait, can you guys share your same household, 1 question per house?
Margaret.
So I work at one of the public schools in Anchorage School District, and the school that I work at doesn't get regular neighborhood bus service, so, for those of you that know, the people who are with Anchorage Transit System, they have travel trainers that can come out and teach you how to use the bus. And I got the travel trainer to come to my school and teach all of us, like how to use the bus. And all of the students in the Anchorage School District and all of the employees in the Anchorage School District, if they have their ID card, ride the bus for free. And it's an amazing service that I've been using more and more of, and I rode on the bus today.
Starting May 20th, all kids ride free all summer through the ASC break. That's just a this. Yes.
Usually, like the health department, is it possible that the bus itself has the route of like where the stops are? So people actually know where those buses are going?
So that's on the outside upper part of the front and on the side.
Visual like landmarks.
The bus go on every route. We don't schedule specific buses on specific routes. So
I'll tell you.
63 of our buses can be on any route. The Spenard service.
Changes.
Awesome. So that's why the head signs are.
Okay,
Try
and this visual of like this bus has this route on the side, you know, all the stops and you're like, oh.
There's a sign inside the bus, the digital display that will.
But I want to be inside the bus, I want to see it outside. You know, sit down, let's go, it's from stuck us.
Tell me where that was. What stop you're at and what routes are affected by for service that style.
Tell us again where you're gonna be, the next couple of.
Organic Oasis on June 1st. And for Spenard Jazz Fest and at Museum for First Fridays, they're sponsored events. I know it sounds awesome. But yeah, thanks. I do have little half sheet flyers on the table. Our website has a list of like 43 of our events throughout the summer. So there's lots of ways to get involved. Transitonthemove.com is also our simple website.
You have 20 seconds, Matt.
I love my chauffeured $600,000 vehicle that I get to ride for $2. Google Maps tells you everything you need to know to get on the bus and get to where you're going. It tells you where to walk to, what time the bus is going to get there. And it is absolutely seamless. And you can buy your ticket on the bus with your phone and just show them the phone and then go sit down. I ride it almost every Thursday. This is my it's an absolute riot. I would love to have it go on base, and I would love to have express buses that don't stop at all 53 stops to South Anchorage. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, thanks for being here. Our last is 2026 Spenard Capital Improvement Program Priorities List. The paragraph of information at the top of the page describes our process. This isn't a brand new list that we invented in the last 2 weeks. This has been an ongoing process since even well before when I was president back in 2016. The Spenard Capital Improvement Program is basically our list of priorities every year, and it doesn't mean that these things get built every year, but this is our way of elevating our capital improvement priorities similarly for work in our community. The northern portion of Spenard Road was on this list for a long time. It finally got built in 2015. As you can see, the southern part of Benson, Minnesota, next is number 3 on this list. There were surveys that were sent out to the community last month. Thank you all who answered the survey. And what you see on this sheet is our prioritized list of capital improvements. So before we open it up to discussion, how about we do this the right way and entertain a motion to discuss this or to approve it, and then we'll open it up for discussion. So is there a motion to approve this list? Irene, is the motion to approve?
Second.
And Peggy is seconding. Is there any discussion on this resolution? Yes, sir.
Number 3 priority, is that funded already?
It is not funded.
Fully,
They do these things in
like chunks.
phases. There's kind of some like partial design on them. But you know, these things take years. So no, it is not fully funded. Are there any questions online about our capital improvement project list? None. Yes, ma'am.
I have a question about number 4, the Lois Drive upgrade. I went to the open house. I saw the map. It appears that the road is not lined up at that stop sign. And also it's a great project, but it ends and brings a ton of people into the neighborhood without anywhere for them to really go. Originally the project was supposed to go across in the front of Aquarian as well, which I see is on here somewhere where I saw it. Oh, number 1, the second part. I'm concerned about that it's gonna bring a lot more people into the neighborhood because it's already a great cut through. But this second half of Lois, between 32nd and 36 is the really rough part. Drainage is huge, so it is a needed project, but it's a very fancy project for a very small space. And I'm concerned about the flow of traffic coming in. I don't know, they weren't able to answer.
Increase the flow of traffic
into the neighborhood, yes.
But it'll go very slow with all those speed bumps, and you're gonna really cruise and look at the houses as you go. There's a lot of ones, like that. Do you know what I mean?
I drive it too,
Yeah.
and below the stop sign being cattywampus.
Yeah, that's true, that one is. But we're not gonna race through there with those speed bumps, so that helps.
I mean, people race on the other side, right?
I'm not the designer, and I don't think that this implies that there's an approved design for this. I think that it's just there's a recognition that we'd like to make that street safer and correct the drainage issues, and so therefore that's why it's. I mean, the increase in traffic is. I mean, that's in years to figure out, and that there will be a whole process to get involved and get it settled.
Yeah, I went to the house and they were blanked out.
Any other comments or questions?
Why did this rank number 1?
Why would it rank number 1?
What's the benefit?
I mean, I think that probably all of these projects in some way benefit our neighborhood, and this project happened to rise to the top based on survey answers and history. And it's not like we pull suddenly number 31 becomes number 1. A lot of times, this list of the top 5 projects doesn't change over the course of 5 years. So
right there was the sidewalk at that say anything for the school or, you know, just maybe in the system. Oh, top of those sidewalk or whatever, you know, that is like. Somewhere.
We all took a survey.
It's a survey.
So there's a survey from us and I advocated for that, people to vote for that. I lobbied for people to vote for that because we've had so many people die on that section of the road.
The answer.
That's,
Oh,
yeah.
that's your. Why did the. Dead people die.
Yeah. Great, are we ready to vote?
Yes.
All right, all in favor, please raise your hands, say across the report. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 17, 18, 19, 20 in favor, all opposed.
21.
Oh, 21. Opposed. 1. Great, thanks, Bill. Ricky, this went into 1. Is there a motion to adjourn the meeting? Wait. Say wait. Okay.
Guys, I really want to thank Jed. I texted him this afternoon, said. I am sad and I cannot run today's meeting. Could you please run today's meeting? And he stepped up. So I just really want to thank him and give him a little bit.
Thank you all for being here tonight. I think we had a lively discussion and I encourage you all to just keep talking, let's keep talking. Okay, that's the whole point is we're gonna all be stronger together, working on the solutions. Thanks. Thank you, good night.
Go to it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Second that or.